Hi guys, Joe again. Teach at Transformation Center in Oregon, an instructor for Dustin, and I also am a physical therapist for my full-time job. So thought I'd give you a few tips today on your spine health, so low back and neck in particular. These are two parts of your body that we see a ton in the clinic, two of the most common injuries for adults this day and age. So we'll start with the low back. So there's two most common injuries you can get in your low back. One is involved with too much forward bending. That is by far the most common one. So the first tip I'm going to give you is when you pick up your weights off the ground, you never want to just bend over. So this right here, bending over to pick up your weights, is a big no-no. There's a lot of injuries in the gym, not even doing an exercise, but just reaching for your weights. So whenever you're getting your weights off the ground, you want to make sure you're getting a nice squat going. You can do more of a lunge position, but you want to keep your back in a neutral position when you do that. So, I almost did the wrong one when I put my weights down. So that's very important because a lot of injuries can stem from that repeated forward bending motion. So that's why a lot of people get injuries with things like shoveling and other household and outdoor activities, because you don't use those muscles for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden you start doing it a lot and you end up injuring that low back. So you want to really make sure you don't do too much of that forward bending motion. The other big area that I see people needing some help with is by extending your back too much. So in particular, this is an issue when you're putting weights overhead. So for instance, when you're doing a shoulder press, I see a lot of people doing this kind of a motion and extending through their low back like that. That can also lead to a lot of injuries. And what you want to do to correct that is to make sure your core is engaged when you're reaching overhead so that your spine can stay in a neutral position like this instead of extending like that as you reach your arms overhead. This is also important for a lot of core exercises. So for instance, with planking, you don't want to let your back sag down. You want to make sure you keep that core engaged and in a neutral position. And more will come about that later in a different talk. I also want to talk about your neck today, though. And the most common area that I see people needing help in their neck is with exercises on their stomach. So just like with your low back, your spine loves to be in a neutral position. So think about the position your body's in standing. You're looking straight ahead. So you should bring that same principle to doing things on your stomach. So when you're doing exercises like Superman, I see a lot of people craning their necks up like this. And just think, if you were standing and your neck was in this position, you'd be looking at the ceiling. So that's not a position your neck wants to be in. So when you're on your stomach, you want to think about tucking your chin in toward your neck and keep it in that position the whole time that you're doing exercises like Superman's or anything on your stomach. So again, just to summarize, your spine loves to be in a neutral position. So think about the position you're in when you're standing. There's a slight little curve in your neck and there's a slight little curve in your back. And you want to keep those there at all times, whenever possible. So when you're raising weights overhead, don't let it flex or extend too much. When you're bending forward, you don't want to let it flex too much. And when you're on your stomach, you never want to let your neck go up towards the ceiling too much. So I hope you guys learned a little something about your spine today. Have a good one.